Hi everyone, welcome. I am excited to be here. We are going to make some fossils today. So, did you guys know that there were dinosaurs that roamed right here where we are? They roamed through Laurel, Maryland. So there is a whole park that is dedicated to the study of dinosaurs and fossils. And so we're lucky to have partnered with the Laurel Dinosaur Park to bring this project to you. You should see a little video about what they do there. And then what we will do is we will make our very own fossils. So what I'm going to do is show you those supplies. Okay, so what we need for today's project to make our own fossils is something to put water in. So this is just a tin cup that I use for painting and the such, but it won't come off. This paint won't come off. So we'll just put some water in there. So yours can be anything, like a bowl or the such. You'll have a little bag of flour that we showed you before in the unbagging video. A little bag of salt, which you should have also seen. And you should have your very own little dinosaur or lizard that is going to be used to make your fossil. And then this is just a non-stick surface that I could use to mix my flour and my salt and my water on so that I don't mess up my table. So you could use a plastic tablecloth, you could use wax paper, but this is just the one that I had handy. And then this is my container that has my water in it. And as you can see, look, it has a little dinosaur on top that I thought was just absolutely perfect. So you can go ahead and get your supplies, and then we'll get started making our fossils. And please remember that you are free to stop this video at any time. Pause the video. If you need to take a little bit more time to do a step, that is perfectly okay. So feel free to pause the video, and then when you're ready to move to the next step, you can press play and go to the next step. Okay, and just a reminder that at the end of this video, there will be a page of information for our partner organization, the Laurel Dinosaur Park. So you'll be able to do a little bit more research on dinosaurs and fossils and that type of thing, or maybe even plan a visit. So talk to your people and see if you can go and visit the park. All right, bye.
Hello everybody, my name is JP Hotnet, and I'd like to welcome you to Dinosaur Park. This is a very special place where we have rocks dating back 115 million years ago during what was called the early Cretaceous. I am the paleontologist and program coordinator for here at Dinosaur Park. It is my job to manage the field research, the collections, and the educational programs that occur right here at this park. The rocks I am walking on were once part of a slow-moving river, which preserved a whole variety of different kinds of organisms, from snails to pine cones to, of course, the dinosaur bones that we do find here. These organisms were quickly covered over by a fine-grade clay, or an iron-rich mud which we turned into is called now ironstone. The most common fossils we have here at Dinosaur Park are not the remains of dinosaurs, but actually the remains of fossilized plants, the most common of which is a material called lignite, which looks very much like coal that arose out of the hill. These are actually the remains of tree trunks, specifically belonging to a dawn redwood, which is a species of tree that is still alive to this day. Say hello to Max. Max is part of the team of staff and volunteers who helps find and conserve the fossils found at Dinosaur Park. We can spend hours looking for over the surface of the hill trying to spot new fossil bone. When looking for a fossil bone, we are looking for certain traits that distinguish bone from the rocks in the fossil wood. Bone tends to be bluish in color when exposed to the air. It also tends to be glossy with a spongy texture. This spongy texture is made from pores in the bone where blood vessels used to be. New fossils are revealed after it rains. This happens because the clays the fossils are in are soft and break up when they get wet. Here, Max and I found fragments of turtle shell. The color of the turtle fossil is lighter than the surrounding rocks in the fossil wood. Turtles are one of the more common animal fossils we find at Dinosaur Park. Due to the flowing water, we rarely find articulated or associated remains to a single skeleton. Here, Max is showing us the spongy texture of the turtle shell bone where it broke in half, showing the blood vessels of the bone. Fossil bones and teeth can be tiny, so a hand lens is a very useful tool for paleontologists. For example, here is a tooth of a small crocodile we find at Dinosaur Park. It is also always good to get a second opinion if you are not sure if you found a fossil or not. Unlike turtles and crocodiles, dinosaur bones and teeth are not as common. However, every once in a while we will come across a new dinosaur fossil. This is a new limb bone to a dinosaur found laying on the surface. We rarely dig at Dinosaur Park. We will dig, however, when there is evidence of more bone going into the hill, as is in the case here. We know this could be a dinosaur bone because of its hollow appearance inside the bone shaft. Before digging, we make sure that there are no other fragments of bone or additional bones poking out of the clay, or hidden among the ironstone and the fossil wood. The primary tools we use at Dinosaur Park for extracting fossils include a scratch awl and a trowel to loosen sediments, brushes to clear away debris, a rock hammer in case we encounter tough rocks, and paper towels to wrap up the fossils to take back to the lab. Of all the tools we use, brushes are the most important. We want to work slowly as not to damage the bone as it is exposed. Brushes are the best to first uncover the bone buried in the sediment, as they remove the loose dirt directly from the fossil. We will use the scratch awl next to pry away the more compacted sediment. Its sharp point is ideal for breaking up the clay. We will also use the awl to probe deeper into the hill to feel for what is underneath the ground. We will go back to using the brush to clear away all the new debris. On the occasion we find a larger, more complete bone, we need to make a protective covering called a jacket over the fossil. The jacket is made from plaster bandages and allows us to remove the fossil in one piece and safely take the fossil back to the lab. The rest of the limb bone is exposed, but now we are going to widen the spot we are digging so we can see if there are more bones and also have a better angle to remove this fossil. We will use the trowel to make our hole wider. We will use the larger brush to remove the excess sediments. For a small bone like this one, it can take an hour or two of digging to safely remove it. If there are more bones, it could take a day or two to remove them. When large dinosaur skeletons are found, it can take weeks, months, or even multiple years of digging to remove the fossil safely and back to the lab. This bone is ready to be removed. We will use the awl to carefully pry it out of the sediment. We will then wrap the fossils in paper towels and place them in plastic bags with the locality and collector information written on them. Back at the lab, we carefully unwrap each fossil. As you can see, our dinosaur bone is still covered in sediment and is in two pieces. To clean our fossil, we will use a variety of hand tools to remove the remaining sediment. We will use a double-sided tinsel pick, a pin vise with a sharp needle attached, a pick with a curved and straight edge, and of course, a brush. We will also use different kinds of glues to strengthen and repair our fossil. The sharp points of the picks clear away the softer clay attached to the bone. Sometimes pieces of bone can fall off, which we can reattach with glue. For tougher sediment, we use an electric graving tool to grind away the tough rock. The tip of the tool is sharp and vibrates rapidly to chip away pieces of rock. For some fossils, it can take weeks to months to clean one bone. We have cleaned and repaired enough of this fossil to identify this bone as a femur. This femur may belong to a Coelurosaur, a small predatory dinosaur and an older, distant relative to Tyrannosaurus rex.
Hello, hello. So I am excited about this. I have always loved dinosaurs and the such and archaeology. I think if I hadn't been an artist, I might have been an archaeologist. So what we're going to do today is we are going to make fossils. So what you should have, you'll need a bowl. You should have some flour, some salt, and some little things. I've got these little lizard kind of things. You might have shells. There might be different things that you have that came in your package. But these are what I'll have today. And this, the flour I got out of my kitchen. I laid down some wax paper to keep my work surface neat, just because I thought it would be easier to clean up. So that's something to think about. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to measure out, I have a measuring cup. I'm going to measure out a 1/4 cup of salt. So you can do this, you can double this up, triple this up to make more of this. But I cut it down because I'm only going to make a couple of, so I've measured a 1/4 cup of salt. And you can see I have these little lumps. I'm just going to use my fingers because the salt's okay to touch because we eat it. And so I'm just going to crush up those little bits of salt. Okay. And then I need a 1/2 cup of flour. And so this is probably going to get pretty messy. And which is why I put down the wax paper. I'm going to throw that in there with my salt and just sort of mix it up. And then what I need is about 1/8 of a cup of warm water. And so I'm just going to kind of guesstimate this. So if I have a 1/4 cup measurement here, I'm just going to do about half of that. So you can add a little bit. That looks about right. And then for me, I'm just going to mix it with my hands. Okay. And what we're making is salt dough. And so that is, and so if it's kind of lumpy like that, that's not going to do what we want it to do. So I'm going to add a little bit more water just so that it'll make it a little bit easier to mix up. Okay. And it does get on your hands. It sticks to your hands, that's for sure. So don't be too alarmed if it gets stuck to your hands. That's okay. And I'm going to add a little bit more water because this still seems a little bit dry to me. And I can always, you know, tweak the recipe a little bit. I can always put a little bit of extra flour in there to dry it up if I've added too much water. So I've got a pretty good dough going in here. You can see that. So it's kind of gooey on my hands. That's okay. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to make that sort of into this little ball. I'm going to put this over here. And then I'm going to go ahead and shake a little bit of my flour out so that my dough, I'm going to cut my dough in half because I've got 2 big things of it. And I can put that together like that. And I want to roll it into a ball. See how that makes that nice little ball, right? And then I'm going to flatten it out. I'll just wipe off my hands. And then I'm making it sort of like, it looks like a big cookie. I don't know that we'd want to eat it. I think it would taste terrible. But it looks a little bit like a cookie. A little lizard. See how he gets along in there. I want to push him down a little bit. And I don't want to push him down too hard because he might get stuck in the dough. So I want to just push him down hard enough that he leaves a little impression. Let's see. Ha! And there you have it. You'll leave him to dry, or you can set it in a window to dry, somewhere out of the way, because it's still, you can see this is still pretty soft, right? So you want it to dry, and then you'll end up with your own little fossil. You want to take your fossil, you want to put it on a baking sheet, and you want to have an adult help you put it in a 250-degree oven for 1 to 2 hours, and you can take them out once they're hard. So that should be something that you do with an adult, okay? But then you will have a nice little fossil. So the brilliant part of this, if you don't like the print that you made, like the fossil that you made, you can squish it back up. It's just like Play-Doh. We can use other things that we find. Like, so there's this leaf outside that I found. This has got a real good texture on the back. And so we can press that down into, and then we have a leaf. And so that might be a way that people studying fossils and the such can determine what the dinosaurs were eating. Like this has a little bit, so this has clearly been eaten by a bug. And so if they were to see that in their fossil, they could be like, oh, something was eating it back when this was made into a fossil. So that would give them some information about that. Okay, so you can go and you can find things if you go on a walk and the such that you can try out with the salt dough and see how that works. Okay, I'd like to see if you find some things that are different than what was given in the package, please be sure to share them. We'd love to see them.